us again to talking about an underrated guy. So we are going to talk about Noah Penda, who again, I did have a little bit of a look at last season as a prospect. There was some talk that he was in the draft and then he removed his name out of that. So he is 20 years of age now as a guy that, I'll just let you take the wheel here on Penda. What is it that you see with him? Because he's projected usually in the 20s in most sort of mock draft big boards. Some I've even seen push into the second round. Like, what are you seeing with him that you think that others might be sleeping on a little bit?
I think it's just kind of a miscast, kind of like what we were talking with Ace. I think a lot of people see him as this 3-and-D wing just because I feel like European prospects a lot of the times are in a more condensed role, and we only get to see kind of the ball skills or maybe the just high caliber stuff they can do outside of shooting or playing defense so often. For Penda, I think that's kind of becoming less and less of the case. You go tune into his game from the last couple months. He's handling the ball. He's taking it up the court. He's running pick and rolls, and he's doing a damn good job at it. He's still not where you want him to be as a shooter. Added a lot to his arsenal this game, but the percentage is hanging around like 32, 33%. And the free throw indicators aren't the greatest, but it's a step up from where he was. And then obviously you're looking at where he sits on the defensive end, where he is this he kind of plays that gambler role where he's jumping passing lanes, rotating deep into help. But positionally, he's one of the best one-on-one defenders in this class.
So we had these sort of players, like, again, it's the size. You're a 6'7", 6'8" wing who can defend and maybe you handle and maybe the shot comes around. We saw a lot of these sort of guys, even in last year's draft, that people took flyers off. Number 1 pick, Zachary Ricochet. We saw Tijan Salan, who's a little bit bigger than that, but he went at pick 6 because this idea of these guys who can play defense and maybe shoot and have this level of size is intriguing. There's other guys in this class. Noah Essengay, again, a similar sort of sized player who is in that mold of like, oh, maybe the shot comes around, but the defense is already there. So what separates Penda from a lot of these guys, or would you have him higher than guys, especially in this class, like an Essengay, who's at times projected inside the top 10, and Penda's probably not quite at that level?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the top prospect from Europe is either him or Essengay. And for me, what kind of puts Penda in that tier is the handling. It's the creation. It's the stuff he can do to create outside of just attacking a closeout, running up in transition, creating a play on defense. He really has a knack for getting into the lane, maintaining his handle, whether that's backing guys down, driving past them, or simply just relocating and resetting an offense. He's kind of nailed this over the last couple months, and he's only going to get better at it. Like you said, he's only 20 years old. People kind of tend to think that's on the older end, but I mean, he's got a 10, 15-year career ahead of him if he can stay healthy.
In terms of these sort of players, like, there's obviously things when we do player comps and the way our brains work to look at guys, and there's things that work based on aesthetics or based on nationality or whatever that brings us across. So I'll ask you, this is a question without notice, you might not have an answer off the top of your head, but who do you think is the best European 3-and-D wing size player that's ever come across the NBA?
I think you're probably looking at somebody like Nick Batum.
Exactly. Thank you.
Somebody that
exactly the name.
Somebody that kind of mirrors a lot of the things that Panda can do. You look at the shots he's taking now from 3. Obviously, he still needs to put some of that together. But you're looking at some no-dip stuff now. You're looking at the step backs, the shots out of the pick and roll. The stuff that Nick Batum kind of made a career off being able to do while being in a smaller role. Obviously, the passing's there. The positional versatility on defense and the role versatility on defense is there. But as far as like an American player I might comp him to, I think Neesmith is a good one that you brought up as well.
I can say that. I think Penda's ball handling and passing is probably better or more projectable than Neesmith's was and than currently is. He doesn't really get much of that opportunity. But the Batum one is so interesting because he came in, got that big max deal. People expected a lot, but that's not who he is. He's a lower usage connector, defender who's like like a million. He's 36 now. I feel like he could keep playing at this level for 4 more years, just doing stuff that makes teams better. And these players don't always hit. There are plenty of these guys who would come across, oh, look, he's ball handling. He's 6'9", and he's Jean and Musa, and then he does nothing. There are plenty of these guys who come across and do nothing. But the intrigue is there with this sort of a guy that, the shooting's not great, but it's not terrible. You're right about the free throw percentage causing a problem, but generating stuff defensively. Now, there is a difference, obviously, in athleticism between the NBA and playing over in the Jeep Elite One League or whatever it's called. How do you think that Penda's athleticism will hold up against that change in athleticism in the NBA?
I mean, I think you look at some of the stuff that he does athletically, he's not obviously going to blow your mind with his vertical, but he's a guy who is really quick on that first step. He might not accelerate to a whole new speed after that first step, but it's real 0 to 60 right away. And that is just as fast east to west as it is north to south. So he's got great recovery speed. He really, I think if you go back and watch some of the FIBA U20 tape where he was on that champion squad next to Zachary Petty, he blew up a lot of 2-on-1 situations just by being long, being in a stance, and being able to move quick laterally. And then obviously from a strength perspective, he's walled off a lot of the best handlers in that league just by being able to get his chest into them, put his arms out wide, and hold his ground with a low center of gravity. I think as far as defenders go, one of the things that I'm looking at more recently is kind of where their hips and their center of gravity is. Penda is low as far as pretty low for a 6'8", 6'7" guy. It's about as good as you can get.
We're going to